This is the KitchenAid Artisan Series 5-quart tilt head stand mixer. I have used this mixer enough to talk about it in a real way, and my experience with it has been mostly very good. What stood out to me right away was how solid it felt when I set it on the counter. It has some weight to it, and that matters. It does not slide around easily while mixing, and it does not feel flimsy. When I use it for thicker dough or heavier batters, it stays planted and feels stable. I have the aqua sky color version, and in person it looks clean and a little softer than it does in some photos online. I like that it adds color to the kitchen without looking loud. It has that familiar KitchenAid shape that a lot of people already know, but what matters more to me is that it does not feel cheap. The body feels solid, the bowl locks in securely, and the tilt head opens and closes with a firm, reassuring feel. The tilt head design has been one of the most useful parts in daily use. I can lift the head up, add ingredients, scrape the sides, or switch attachments without fighting with the machine. That sounds basic, but it makes a difference when I'm in the middle of mixing and do not want to stop for long. I found it especially helpful when making cookie dough, cake batter, and whipped cream. I can check the texture quickly, lower the head, and keep going. The motor has handled what I needed it to do. It is rated at 325 watts, and in real use, it has been strong enough for normal home baking. I used it for cookie dough, banana bread batter, frosting, mashed potatoes, and a basic bread dough. For lighter jobs, it feels easy and controlled. For thicker dough, I noticed the machine working harder, but it still got through it without acting strained in a worrying way. I would not treat it like a heavy-duty bakery machine, but for home use, it has been reliable. The speed control is simple. I did not need much time to get used to it. The mixer responds well when changing speeds, and I like that I can start slow to avoid flour going everywhere. That alone saves a lot of mess. I also checked the speed guide that comes with it, and it was actually useful. It helped me use the right attachment at the right speed instead of guessing. The bowl size works well for the kind of cooking and baking I normally do. 5 quarts gives me enough room for family-sized batches without feeling too big for smaller recipes. I made a couple batches of cookies in it, and it handled that fine. I also used it for whipped cream and frosting, and it still worked well with smaller amounts. The bowl is easy to remove once you get used to the locking motion. After a few uses, it becomes second nature. The attachments are easy to swap. I use the flat beater the most, then the whisk, and then the dough hook. Changing them takes only a moment. I just push up, twist, and pull it off. That part feels simple and practical. I did not have to fight with anything. The whisk did a nice job with cream and egg whites. The flat beater worked well for cake batter, cookie dough, and butter with sugar. The dough hook was useful for basic yeast dough, though I still keep an eye on the mixer with heavier dough, because that is when any stand mixer starts showing what it can and cannot do. One thing I liked more than I expected was the pouring shield. I usually think extra plastic pieces like that end up sitting in a drawer, but I actually used it. It helped cut down on flour puffing out when I added dry ingredients. It also made it easier to pour things in slowly while the mixer was running. It is not something I use every single time, but I am glad it is there. Cleaning it has been easy. The bowl and attachments are simple to wash, and being able to put those parts in the dishwasher helps. The mixer itself just needs a quick wipe. Because it sits out on the counter a lot, I like that it cleans up without much effort. Batter splashes and flour dust come off easily enough with a damp cloth. There are a few practical things worth knowing. It is not a small appliance, so it takes up real counter space. It is also heavy enough that I do not want to move it back and forth from a cabinet every time I use it. I keep mine out because lifting it often would get annoying. The weight helps during mixing, but it also means you should think about where it is going to live before buying it. I also noticed that for very thick mixtures, the machine can rock a little, which is normal for a tilt head mixer. It has not been a problem for me, but I would not leave it running and walk away when mixing something dense. I think that is just common sense with a stand mixer like this. I stay nearby, especially when using the dough hook. What keeps me using it is not one dramatic thing. It is just that it makes regular kitchen tasks easier. I can mix dough without tiring out my arm. I can whip cream faster. I can make cookie dough with less mess and less effort. That is the real value for me. It saves time, and it makes baking feel less annoying on days when I do not want to do everything by hand. I also think it works well for people with different levels of experience. If I'm making something simple, it does not get in the way. If I want to bake more often, it gives me enough help to make that easier too. The controls are simple, the attachments cover the basics, and the machine feels dependable in normal everyday use. After spending time with it, I can say this is a mixer I actually enjoy using. It feels solid, it works the way I expect it to, and it handles most home mixing jobs without trouble. It is not magic, and it is not for every kind of heavy mixing, but for everyday baking and cooking, it has been useful and consistent. That is really the reason it stays on my counter. I will update specific information about the KitchenAid Artisan Series 5-quart tilt head stand mixer in the comments. Don't forget to catch my next video.